Hello, Goddess. Welcome back. This is Andrea with You Are Mind, Body, Soul. And in this space, I guide goddesses to bridge the mind, body, and soul through psychosomatic education, consciousness reconditioning, as well as alchemy and energetics. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Come on in. We are in the month of March. So that means that this year is almost a quarter of the way over and winter is almost over. We're about to be in the spring season soon, and I am so looking forward to just longer days, the sun. Although I really am a winter person, I really thrive during the winter due to my constitution, my Ayurvedic constitution being a pitta. Shout out to my pittas. I'm really just looking forward to the warmth of the spring and the change. It feels like spring is actually coming soon. So I'm just curious, what are you doing to prepare for spring? How is your life changing? Feel free to drop any comment below. I love when you all comment. It just fills me with so much warmth to see that you are vibrating with this message. So before I get too deep into things, I want to invite you to grab a cup of water or some tea or coffee, a smoothie, whatever it is you're hydrating with. And I also want to remind you to please like this video so that the algorithm can do its magical, mysterious thing. Please share the video so that other goddesses such as yourself can receive this information. And please subscribe to the channel. I recently found out that about 75 to 80% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So please subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you can find out when I am loading these videos every Monday. And welcome to all of my new subscribers. I'm so grateful and so happy to have you here. So let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about happiness. What is happiness? How do you create your own happiness? And what is that definition for you? So I want you to ask yourself as we are beginning, what is happiness for me? So if you want to grab your journal, feel free to go ahead and grab your journal. And I want you to just ask yourself, what is my definition of happiness? You can pause the video if you need to take a moment and ask yourself, what is your definition of happiness? I remember when I first started to ask myself, I was transitioning out of a stage in my life of being a victim of my circumstances, and happiness became my number one priority. I remember it like yesterday. I felt for most of my life that happiness was something that was fleeting. I felt like happiness was something that only people who had achieved certain actualization points in their life, meaning they had manifested things that you could see on the external realm. And so when you saw them in public or on media, or people in your family, friends, acquaintances, when they had that smile on that face, on their faces, that meant that they had found happiness. And as I began to grow in my wisdom, I started to realize that people are not always as happy as they look, right? We can put a smile on our face and still go home and be miserable. So I really had to determine what happiness was for me in the face of feeling like so much was being taken away from me. I come from very rough circumstances. Those of you that have been following me on this very short journey that I've been sharing so far on YouTube, I think that May will make a year that I have been consistently uploading videos. So I guess that anniversary is coming up kind of soon. And so, those of you that have been following me know that I come from challenging circumstances. I come from, from the hood. I come from, a place where a lot of people don't make it out of. So being an ambitious woman and a progressive Aquarius woman, I always wanted more for myself. And in the pursuit of that which I thought that I wanted at the time and the things that I desired, I began to realize that happiness was something that was evading me. And when I really started to make that happiness, peacefulness a priority, I started to realize that it was not something that was going to come from the external. Even though I was losing things, I read this quote the other day that I found super powerful. It says, whatever is you feel is a loss that is outside of your circumstance is actually a gift from the universe. So, in other words, no matter what your circumstances are, whatever you feel is being taken away from you, whatever you feel like you are at a disadvantage from that you don't have, that you feel like you should have or should have had, it is not there because it is actually blessing you. And at the time where I felt like I was losing everything, like literally everything, you guys, I had to tap into a state of internal peace, and I had to find happiness with just waking up and taking breath, waking up and being able to put food on my plate and clothes on my body. And I found that I went into this meditative space where I was able to draw from within my sacred well, which we talk about in other videos, my sacred well of infinite energy that is connected with God, with the source, to fuel me and give me motivation to not only survive, but to thrive and to expand and to consistently level up into new levels. I also had to come to the acceptance that no one was going to save me, that there was not some predestined point where an unexpected savior was going to come in and rescue me from my circumstances. I had to recognize that only I could control my life and the energy that I brought to life, and therefore the responses that I was fueling my reality with. And this is a great part of the work that I do on this channel, and a great part of the work that I do as a coach for women, because we are so powerful having wombs, having feminine energy, and being the source point for the creation and the portal that brings life into this physical reality and this planet we know as Earth. Feminine energy is the point, the source of that. So when you are working through your inner work and finding your personal development, you are building and you are enhancing and fortifying and strengthening the fabric of this planet just by doing your individual work. And so never fear about being behind. Don't put yourself on other people's schedule. Don't put yourself on other people's timeline. Everything is happening in divine timing. You are never taking too long to do anything. And what is for you will always come, Goddess. It will always show up. You will always manifest it because it already exists. All right. So let's talk about happiness. And these are just some of the things that I have worked through that have brought happiness for me by way of how I have shifted myself. So I found that it is always important to recognize that I am responsible for my circumstances. And I know that this can be hard to hear. This was very challenging for me at first, but once you get past this step of acceptance and surrendering, that no matter what is happening, at some level you had control over this manifestation, because all is self. There is a powerful statement that one of my mentors states constantly, saying that all is self. So every aspect of what you are witnessing and experiencing is self. So we've already talked a little bit about mindset. We do a lot of consciousness reconditioning and mindset work on this channel. And when something is happening to you, the way that you are experiencing in that moment is transformed by the way in which you are processing it in your mind. And because your mind affects your emotions, and your emotions are energy and motion, and that shifts everything. So the way that you are responding to things, again, especially if it's something that is negative or you would see as a loss, you want to begin to see it as a gift. When you really step into a higher, more skilled state of existence and witnessing your experience, you start to realize that everything that is happening can be used as an ingredient to direct you and to guide you and to shape you for better. So if you see a circumstance or an example of anything that may not be desirable in your life, there is something in that experience that is trying to guide you and that is trying to show you. So rather than thinking that it is happening to you, I want you to start to tell yourself that it is happening for you. And this was one of those things that really changed me. Just thinking it is happening for me. It is not happening to me. I am not a victim. I am not disempowered. I am not less than what I see outside of me. I am greater than. And this was one of the most powerful statements that I started to use that allowed me to call my power back. Just recognizing that everything is happening for me and it is not happening to me. So anytime I feel like there might be like a slight towards me, I'm like, okay, so that's happening for me in order to redirect me. It is protecting me and it is redirecting me. Another example of why it's important for us to take responsibility for our circumstances, because all is self, is actually on a soul level. So I am a firm believer of the power of our spiritual essence and past life contributions to where we are currently. And I've got some dope videos somewhere out there on this YouTube channel. It might be the video on shadow work. I think it's the video on shadow work where I get a bit into past lives and how that stuff starts to karmically show up in this present life. There's a part where I talk about karma, and it's really good. But what I'll say is right now, when we incarnate into this lifetime, we have incarnated with certain contracts that we've had with other souls. And based on those contracts, it is tends to be some kind of follow-up of something that you may have started in a previous lifetime. So example, when you feel like you have met a soulmate and you get together and you link up and you start creating these beautiful things together. For example, like when I found my drum mentor, okay, he took me to the next level at a time where I was really ready to grow in that skill and grow in that craft. That was a soulmate. There have also been other soulmates that I may have started these relationships off in the form of like a friendship, or it was a mentor leadership experience. And I walked with this soulmate because I had this contract for them to take me on my journey to a certain stage. And so we don't want to get overly attached to things that are just meant to be here for certain chapters and certain stages of our life. And when we are finding that we are having trouble with engaging in these relationships in a way that brings happiness, or the challenges start to happen, you can re-empower yourself by knowing that before you incarnated here, your soul, your oversoul, which your whole body in this experience is temporarily contained in, and then you pass on, you reincarnate into another body, and then you go on to the next level of your existence. it's temporary. And so I have found empowerment in my life that knowing that I signed a contract and that my soul incarnated to have this experience, no matter how challenging it is. And just as a note, because I don't want to go too deep into soul contracts and things like that, if you want more information about that, you can also check out the Feminine Alchemy and Freedom course where we go deep. So essentially, you can also break contracts. So if you are participating in a karmic cycle, an energetic cycle, something negative that is happening to you, you can break that contract. For example, for some of my life, I have found issues with gaining money, holding money, dealing with it, and managing it. And that is something that came from previous lifetimes where I experienced poverty. However, as I grew in my consciousness and as I grew in the strength of my personal vibration, which we're going to talk about next, I realized that I could break those chains of poverty that not only my soul had experienced previously, but also I had been given and had been passed on through my family. So ancestral chains. And I broke all of those chains by empowering my mindset to understand that every circumstance is under my control and it is of me because all is self. And this just gave me the power to flip the switch and to reorient my positioning about how I feel about life and how I feel about the experiences that I am having. We also have our energetic blueprints that affect our reality. And these also come from previous lifetimes. They come from how we respond and the way in which we were raised. And it also has to do with our soul's missions. And there are so many layers and things that you can study and that you can research to find out more about your energetic blueprint. So much, but I don't want to digress. So just always know that you can always exit a situation when you make a conscious change to say no more. I learned this, for example, when I was learning how to set boundaries with different things in life and different partners. I used to have this habit of attracting toxic ass partners because there was a part of my consciousness that felt like it was normal, and it was also something that was a repeated pattern from childhood trauma. And one day I made a decision that that no longer was a part of something that I could identify with, and therefore I no longer participated. And it was like with a snap of a finger, I changed my mind about what that meant in my life and no longer allowed it to show up for me. So everything is happening. Another example of a time where something occurred for me that I really could have felt some type of way about, but I realized that God was actually protecting me and God was redirecting me was one night I was driving home. It was actually it was late at night. I had just did a drum performance and I was on 10. But I will tell you, the way that I was living my life at the time was precarious. Like I was doing things that, God probably didn't necessarily want me doing, but I was moving from my shadow self and shadow behavior. Okay. And I was driving, and out of nowhere, this car hit me. So I was driving in the far right lane. I was passing a street. There was a motorcyclist that turned in front of me to the right. And when I turned back to look forward, there was this car that was coming right and almost T-boned me, and it hit me from the side. Or I think I ran into the person in front of me because of a random car that was coming from like the clear left field. So the car was destroyed. Like I had been given this car. Okay. That car was destroyed. And it did not take me long to realize that that experience was redirecting me, because number one, I needed to change my life. I needed to change the things that I was doing, the things that I was participating in. And number two, I ended up getting the car that I actually wanted. So the first car was kind of donated to me. And then after that car, I had insurance and everything. That car was no longer functional. I got money from insurance because it ended up not being my fault. It was, I think, the only accident that I've ever been in. Thank goddess. And I ended up getting the car that I actually wanted. So it actually worked out for me. And I knew in that moment, when, especially when I found out that I was like getting the car that I wanted, I knew that it was happening for me and not happening to me. So that basically eliminated all of the victim, the whole process of being a victim and feeling bad for myself that could have taking me through, because I recognized that it was working for me. Everything is working for me. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So we are always able to unlock our next level through the power of our mind and through the power in which we are interacting with what is happening in our reality. The next thing that has really changed the game for me along the lines of creating my own happiness. So I've already told you about how it all started and when I really started to ask this question. The next thing that has shifted is it's a little bit of a deeper level of work. So all of this is inner work that we're talking about, and we're talking about how to level up your energy, your vibration, and the way that you show up for life. The next thing that changed me was mastering my personal vibration. So originally, some of you know that I do have a pre-medical degree. And when I was in my senior year of college, I really started to get into the study of energetics, and I dedicated myself to that. I dedicated myself to the study of energetics as well as shamanism and other forms of spirituality that had been birthed into me into this incarnation. And I started to take a look at personal vibration, and that brought me into my emotions. So another principle that I walk with that makes moving through life a dance for me and has allowed me to gain a certain level of mastery is mastering my inner vibration. Your personal vibration, which I'm going to go into detail in another moment, is your personality, and your personality predicts your personal reality. Okay. So your personal vibration contributes to your personality, and your personality predicts what your personal reality is going to be. So again, it's all about the vibe that you create. What kind of emotional state are you in? Can you create happiness without needing any kind of external validation? Can you create happiness without having to associate it with some kind of material thing or some kind of accomplishment, or reaching some kind of goal? Because I know that I have a lot of powerful women that resonate with the sound of my voice and the messages that I'm sharing on this channel. And a lot of you are high performance and driven to accomplish. And if you're anything like me, you feel like you have to prove something. I've always felt like I have to prove something. That is a deep feminine wound. And you know that you are beginning to heal the wound of having to prove something or having to accomplish or having to just consistently go. That real masculine energy, it's dark feminine energy, and it is overexerted masculine energy. Can you just be happy with who you are and having the little things and really feeling the experience of absorbing, having the space to be held in, having a comfortable bed to sleep in, having clothes on your body that are a reflection of your personal self expression and really wrapping yourself in your own light without needing to be validated or without needing to accomplish something? Can you just show up as your authentic self and just be happy that you got to wake up and experience life? And that you got to wake up and ask questions about life and find out new things and experience sensations in your body. And trust me, I know what it's like to feel like you have to constantly go. But I will share with you that this year, one of the things that I'm really experiencing and that I'm so happy about, honestly, last year I had to set a lot of boundaries about the demands that were being made on my time and on my energy and my body. That was like all of 2023 was cutting back and redirecting my energy. And what that amounted to was me being able to create the courses that I have in the academy, yambs.co. That's the website. It's linked below if you want to find out more about the courses and about my coaching. I was able to create Exploring Your Divine Feminine Potential, the ebook. You can check that out. I was able to create more towards my ultimate goal and my ultimate vision in life because I redirected my energy from needing to accomplish, from needing to make money, and just pour that back into my deeply desired creative pursuits. My screen just froze. What's going on? Let's see if this is happening or not.